Okay, so we are right at the top of Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, right by the wide line, second wide line. We have a beautiful, beautiful Gemara, and the Gemara is talking about the Mishnah that said that Yosef was zoicha that he should be buried by Moshe Rabbeinu himself, because Yosef buried was matapel with the kfur of Yaakov Avinu by himself. Zog to Gemara. When you look at the psukim discussing the story of Yosef burying his father, the pasuk first says, "Nichsiv, eins, yeah." The pasuk says, "Vayal Yosef likbar esaviv." Yosef went, followed by Vayalu itay kol avdei parai, and after kol avdei parai, only the third group of people was v'hodor v'chol beis Yosef v'echav u'beis. That's how the Torah describes it when they went to bury Yaakov Avinu. And at the end, when they were coming back from Yaakov's levaya, Yosef Mitzrayma, and right after that, it was hu v'echav, and only then v'hodor v'chol olam itay likbar esaviv. And the assumption is, as the more choshev party would go first. So Yosef was the most choshev party, but it seems like on the way, thank you so much, on the way to his father's levaya, the Avdei Parai were more choshev than the family of Yosef. Yet, when they were returning, there was greater covet given to the family of Yosef. So the question is, why is there that distinction? What changed? Yosef Mitzrayma hu v'echav v'hodor v'chol ha'olam itay likbar esav. Rabbi Yochanan, B'tchila at the beginning, until they realized the covet of Klal Yisrael. They didn't realize how choshev Klal Yisrael was. Therefore, the Mitzrayim went ahead of the family of Yaakov, and they didn't respect them. But when they saw what happened by the levaya, how the whole world had such respect for Yaakov Avinu, then they started saying, "Whoa, this is a choshev family. We need to let them go before us." It says in the pasuk, "Vayavoyu ad goyren ha'ata." They went to the goyren, which is like the place where they process and store ha'ata, the thorns. Gemara, does anybody process thorns? No one processes thorns. It teaches us. What happened was they surrounded the Aron of Yaakov with crowns. In other words, all of the kings that came took off their crown and placed it on the Aron of Yaakov to show respect. Just like a goyren, where they create a security perimeter around the garden because people don't want intruders there stealing their freshly produced produce. People used to build barbed wire fences out of thorn bushes. So they would make a perimeter of thorn bushes. So too Yaakov was surrounded just like a garden. Everyone came. They all went because they wanted to fight Klal Yisrael. But Kivan Charo, Kisra Shal Yosef Tolui, by Roinoi Shal Yaakov, when they saw the Kesser of Yosef on the Aron of Yaakov, Tana, we learned, 36 Ksarim Nitlu by Roinoi Shal Yaakov. And there's a little bit of controversy in the Rishonim where this number 36 comes from. Rashi says there were 13 crowns from the Bnei Yishmael. Yeah, they do something with the crown there. They have a special guy, the jeweler, the crown jeweler. So there were 12 Nasim of Yishmael and 23 of Esav. So 23 and 12 is 35 plus Yosef's crown, which is 36. Give me 1 second. I have to take a quick. So this is what they did. That's what they did. And they were maspid Yaakov in a very serious way. Tana, we learned afilu susim v'afilu chamorim. So there's there's a whole bunch of pshatim and what it means v'afilu susim v'afilu chamorim, ranging from they used to take susim and chamorim to the device and cover the susim and chamorim in black fabrics. So it looked like they were mourning. There are those who learn that they didn't feed the susim and the chamorim so that they should make noise, neighing and braying, so it sounded like they were part of the crowd crying. How would Yosef do such a thing as Tzar Balachayim? There are those who learned when Yaakov died, they had a problem now with producing food, and they didn't have enough food, so they couldn't feed animals enough. So here's one of the most famous stories in Shas. When they reached the Ma'aris Machpelah, also Esav came, Kama'akev. He was holding back. He was making a claim against them. A false claim, of course. Amalek, he said, why is it called Kiryas Arba? Esav claimed, because it was designed to house 4 couples. And we hold like that as well. Esav was right. It is designed to hold 4 couples. Kiryas Arba, Arba Zugas Hayu, Adam v'Chava, Avram v'Sara, Yitzchak v'Rivka, and we know Yaakov and Leah. But if we're going to split the Yerusha from our father Yitzchak, and there's 2 places there, well then you, Yaakov, get one, and I Esav get one. You cover Leah b'didei. You used your caver already by burying Leah in it. The Haida Payish, the remaining caver, Didihu is mine. Amrullah, they told him, what are you talking about? Zavinta, sold it to my father. Amrullahu, Nehidis Vini Bichirusa, I sold only the Chelek HaBechayra. I didn't sell the normal land that I was entitled to. Shitusa Mizvini. Amrullah, the brothers told him, what are you talking about? We know for a fact our father told us and showed us a Shtar Mechira that clearly shows that he bought everything from you. Dichsiv, Yaakov told his children, bury me, Bekivri, Asher Karisi li. And of course, Yaakov didn't actually dig the caver. Ain't Kira a Lashon Mechira. Shekain Bekarchei Ayam in the islands, Korin Mechira Kira. It's interesting enough that we had a pshat, I don't remember who said it. Well, tell me. He thought his father Yaakov was his brother. Right. Yeah. So the question here, I remember seeing at the time when we learned this parsha, I remember seeing at the time Asher Karisili, someone brought down that when Yaakov buried Yitzchak there, no, listen, Rashi didn't say what I'm about to say. Normally, when there's 3, Rashi is a Kanisi, Rashi brings this down. Normally, if you bury 2 tzaddikim, so are you going to bury the greatest tzaddik is going to be buried, and then the next tzaddik you're going to bury on his right, or you're going to bury him on his left? Normally, you'll bury him on his left because the greater tzaddik should be on the right, and the lesser tzaddik is going to be on the left. That's how you normally bury 2 tzaddikim together. I'm sorry? I guess there's that assumption. This word makes that assumption. So that well, maybe not. I don't know. That's only Nempinun. Yeah, but it doesn't mean they were side by side. It could be, but in our basic rules, you'll have a row for men and a row for women. Yeah, I don't know, but I haven't seen it. No. Oh. I know in the Samish Kabbalah there are two different sides completely. And in the Mushal here, the Abathis lawn, it's different rows. Because they're not in the Chelka, they're in their own Chelka. Yeah. And she has a good time because she didn't see him her whole life because he was busy with the Chassidim and serving the Tzibur. So she got jetzt. So what happened was when they came and buried Yaakov, it wouldn't be appropriate for Yaakov to be buried on the other side of Avram, because then Yaakov would be on the right and Yitzchak would be on the left. So what they had to do is they had to disinter. They dug up Yitzchak, they moved him to the right side of Avram, and they put Yaakov on the left side of Avram. So Yaakov dug the caver for Yitzchak, but be'etzem he was buried in the caver that he dug for Yitzchak. As they learned. That's how that brought out. Oh, if you go to the Ramas HaPoil, yeah, but I don't think those Motzaivis are right over the Kudim. I hear. So Amar Lahu, Havli Igerta. He says, oh, really? You do have a receipt? I'd like to see that receipt. Amar Leh, they told him, we don't keep our financial papers in the basic course. We have them in the office. Amar Leh, Igerta Ba'ardim try me. Uman Nazel, who's going to go get it? We have to get it faxed over or now emailed over right away. So Nazel Naphtali, we're going to send Naphtali the Kolil. He's very swift. The Kolil Ka'ilasa, he's swift like a ram. He's going to run. That's right. Dichsiv Naphtali Ayala Shlucha. I thought you would not say they didn't have smartphones in those days. I thought you would say Yaakov Avinu would never have allowed his children to have smartphones. Hanoi saying Imre Shofer. So Amar Babo al Tikra Imre Shofer el Imre Sefer. So now we're waiting an extended period of time Shofer. We're waiting an extended period of time. It's stifling hot, and you have a body that's mutal bebezoyin. And this means this is not minutes or hours. I would say this is days. All of a sudden, Chushim Barei Dedan, Tamon Hava. And by the way, the Oisis of Chushim spell the word Moshiach. The Chushim Barei Dedan, Tamon Hava, he was there. The Yakin La'idna, he didn't know what was going on because he couldn't hear the whole conversation. Amar Lahu, he asked around, well, what's going on? My high. Well, they told him, Kama Akiv Hai, this gentleman here, Esau, is holding us back from burying our father. Ad the Asi Naftali me Arid Mitzrayim. Amalu. So who said what? V'yad the Asi Naftali me Arid Mitzrayim. They Avi Abba Mutal bebizoyin. My grandfather's body should be bebizoyin. The sweltering heat. Valdei Potts doesn't want to let us bury him. Shaka Kofa, he took a stick. Machia Aresha, he gave him a zetz off and cup. He took a baseball bat, beat the head right off of Esau. Nosran Eine, Esau's eyes fell out of their sockets. The Naflu Akara de Yaakov, and they fell on the legs of Yaakov. Paschinu Yaakov La'ene, Yaakov opened up his eyes for a minute. The Achich, and he smiled. Behind the Ksiv, Yismach Tzadek, Hichaza, Nakam, Ba'amav, Yerchat B'dam Harasha. Basically, there was a simcha. Gewaltig. So there was a simcha that Yaakov saw that the right din, the din tzedek, was niskayim. That's right. Yeah. Right. That she said, why should I lose you both in one day? You see, they were both there on one day. The Maisa Yaakov died many days earlier, but and they bring rayas from here the shaila of when do you keep the day of the Yortat? Is it the day of the Kfura or is it the day of the Mitzvah? When there's the Avelos end, the day of the Kfura, the day of the Misa. So I think we fear that the Yortat is always the day of the Misa, but the Avelos ends based on the day of the Kfura. a murder kasha. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz has a murder kasha. I don't understand. It was a horrible, horrible piece covered for Yaakov Avinu that his body should be lying there mutal b'bizoyin while they're hacking around with this fake, phony, fraudulent claim. So who had the smart, the awareness to put an end to it right away? It was Chushim. What happened to everybody else? So Reb Chaim Shmulevitz teaches us about the boiling a frog. Do you know how to boil a frog? If you want to boil a frog live, you know how you do it? If you take a frog and throw it into boiling hot water, it's going to jump right out. So how do you boil a frog? The way you boil a frog is you put him into room temperature water, and he's happy there, and you raise it by 1 degree every hour. So the frog doesn't even realize how bad it's getting. And then by the time it's going to kill him, he doesn't chop it. So that's exactly what happens in life. What happens in life is, to everybody at first it was an outrage. But when Esav made his original taina and he engaged them in dialogue, they entertained that because they thought it will just be a minute. We'll show him that this is ours. And then as you engage this fellow in dialogue, your eye misses the point. You start confusing the forest with the trees, and you take your eyes off the ball, and you get drawn in to this fantasy that you're going to now work this out. And you don't realize, in the meantime, the big problem is someone's mutal b'zoyin. Comes Chushim, and he didn't see all of that nonsense because he couldn't hear. And he jumped in and killed him. So Chaim Shmulevitz says it works like that with everything. Sometimes a person doesn't realize that he's in a bad matzav because he's dealing with things in a piecemeal fashion. When sometimes you need to stand back and see what's going on here and give a jump out of what the situation is. So I call that the boiling the frog syndrome. The reason why I call it that is I once went to a business seminar, and sometimes you look at your business and you see problems with it. This isn't done properly, that's not done properly, and this employee doesn't perform, and that doesn't perform. And you ask, so how did I get to such a bad matzah? He says, because every day it gets a little worse, a little worse, a little worse. And you have to reset everything and realize the most important thing about what's going on and take care of it like Chushim did. It's brought down. You could make the cheshbon. It's brought down that Chushim ben Don knocked Esav's head off on Zois Chanukah. It worked out that it was the day of Zois Chanukah. It was the last day of Chanukah. And Chushim are the Oisis Mashiach. So those who say, you can ask Moshe, he'll tell you that Zois Chanukah is a day that's very mesugul for Geula. Because that was the day that Chushim killed Esav. Vimloi Asak ba Yosef. Are you telling me that if Yosef wouldn't have been Isaac with Yaakov Avinu's Mita, are you going to tell me the brothers wouldn't have done it? The pasuk actually says that the rest of the brothers were involved. Amru, they said, Avada, the brothers wanted to take care of their father, but they thought to themselves, it's much more kosher for our father to have a state funeral, to be honored federally, than it would be the covet that just our family would give him. So they held back from giving him his covet personally that they wanted to, out of reverence for their father, that he should have the greatest covet. That Moshe was Isaac with him. Tell her about when they were by the Yam and they were leaving. Who was everyone busy with? They were the Bizayam. That's right. Let's try again. We're about to reach Shemish Pesach. But who? What was he busy with? What was Moshe Rabbeinu busy with? This Asik b'mitzvah. Shenemer Chacham Leiv Yikach Mitzvah. Uminayin Hayo Yodei Moshe Rabbeinu Hechen Yosef Kaper. How did Moshe know even where Yosef was? Amru Serech Bas Osher Nishtayra Me Oisei Ador. Serech Bas Osher was the only person remaining from that generation where she saw where Yosef was buried. Halach Moshe went to Serach. Amr Lo, he asked her, Plumat Yedas Hechen Yosef Kaper. You know maybe where Yosef is buried? Amr Lo, sure. Aron Shal Matchis also Lo Mitzrayim. They built him a hermetically sealed steel Aron. They kavu b'nilas hanor, and they put it in the middle of the Nile River. Why? They felt that Yosef's guf is buried there, then the Nilus would be oila. Remember when Yaakov came, it started doing that. So they were hoping that through Yosef, the Nilus would have a bracha, and they would have plenty of parnasa through that. So where in the world are you going to find a a steel coffin buried at the bottom of the Nilos. Halach Moshe, Vamaras Fas Nilos. Amalo Yosef Yosef. Higia Eis, Shenishba Kodesh Baruch Hu, Shani Goyal Eschem. The time came where the Rebbe Shem promised that he's going to be Goyelas. Higia Shavua, Shishbat Yisrael, and therefore the time came for the Shavu that Klal Yisrael, that you must be a Klal Yisrael, to take your bones. If you're going to show me where you are, mutav. Because we've done whatever we possibly could do to fulfill your words. The steel coffin floated up. How does steel float? Don't ask me a kasha. How Moshe made al derech neis that metal should float. It says by one of the Talmidim of Elisha, Talmud of Elisha Navi. There was someone who was taking down a tree with an axe. There's a basil nafel alamayim, and the metal of the axe, the blade of the axe, went flying off of the handle into the water and then sunk. It went plop. And now this poor fellow lost the metal of the axe. Aha Adoni, woe is to me, my master. Who show I borrowed this axe, and now how am I going to give this back to the owner? Not a problem. Just tell me roughly where it fell. The person showed the Navi where it went down. He chopped a little piece of wood. He threw it there on the water, where in the general area where the axe went down. And the metal axe floated up. You make a push to Kavachimer. Uma Elisha, Talmidoi shel Elio, Elio Talmidoi shel Moshe. So there's so many madrigas down. Nevertheless, had the koyach tof barj on the panel. He was able to make metal float. So it's not a big deal. We have Nashonaimer, that's not how the story went down. This fellow, he was chopping wood for himself. Yeah, Nevi'im did Nisim on a regular basis. Thousands and thousands of Nevi'im did thousands of Nisim. Yeah. You should read the introduction to Yeshua in the Art Scroll. It's very fast. He explains Nevi'im was a state of mind. When someone becomes so separated from Gashmis by Mesiras Nefesh, by putting his taivas and his feelings and his needs aside for others and for the Rebbeinu Shalom, that automatically creates a closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom. In other words, like we said before, you don't have to invite Hashem in. You just got to not throw him out. And because of that, they naturally saw things and did things. They weren't mugval, they weren't limited by what we look at as nature. They were living in a different world. Now, some of these Nevi'im also were instructed by the Rebbeinu Shalom to give us messages. It's only those Nevi'im that are recorded for us. Only the Nevi'im that are recorded that were relevant, that Hashem decided were relevant for Klal Yisrael to know Lo'olam, were those that are written down. But there were thousands and thousands of Nevi'im because it was just a person who was in a high madrega. Yeah, it was a normal thing. And as a matter of fact, the Art Scroll for Zois, today, nowadays we don't have Navu anymore because we don't have the counterbalance of Avodah Zarah. But we have Ruach HaKodesh, and it's the same thing. Someone who is extremely erlich, meaning he pushes down his needs for others, tzaddik, they have a certain intuition, a certain understanding. That's what you ask about Torah. It's not magic. Someone who's removed a little bit from this world automatically has a connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he has a certain wisdom, a certain insight, even sometimes the ability to project the future, not with clarity like a Navi, but it makes the person different. I don't know what it's like. I just know I've encountered people who have that wisdom. And I'm sure we've all encountered people and not necessarily people who are big rabbanim and tzaddikim. Could be private citizens. You don't even they don't advertise. But I know certain people that I respect, and they have a tremendous insight and wisdom because they're very holy people. Zok Gemara, Rab Nosson Omer, Bikarbanit Shal Malachim HaYakaver. There was a special area for Malachim, for kings. The royal, it's like in Westminster Abbey is where the English royalty are buried. So there was a special place where the royalty were buried. That's where Yosef was buried as a king. Halach Moshe Bamid Karbanet Shal Malachim Amar Yosef. Higia Eis Shenishba Kadosh Baruch Hu Shani Goy Leschem. Vihigia Shavua Sheish Bates Yisrael. Imatamar Atzmu Chabuto. Dimlav Harei Nimenukim Yishavua Seich. Boys to show Nizdaza Iron Shal Yosef. His orange shook. So in that mausoleum, he was able to find them. I don't know if it was a mausoleum or a cave or whatever it was. Not Lemoshe Vivia. It's like it could be a pyramid. Advice. V'chol Oizen Shonim Shahoyu Yisrael b'Midbar, and all the years that they were in the Midbar, they took the Aron that they made in the Mishkan for the Mishkan, and they also had with them Yosef Atzadik's Aron. So v'chol Oizen Shonim Shahoyu Yisrael b'Midbar Hayu Shnei Aronis Halalu Echad Shal Meis v'Echad Shal Shechina Mahalchan Zemzeh. They would carry them together. But you Irvin Vishavin, it's funny, it says Mahalchan Zemzeh. I don't know if I should read into it or not, but we know the Aron was Noises Noisov. So the Aron was Mahalach. I don't know about Yosef's Aron. But you Irvin Vishavin, Irvin, people who would encounter it would say, Ma Tivan Shal Shnei Aronis Halalu. Amru, they would say, Echad Shal Meis v'Echad Shal Shechina. Back to Gemara, V'chima Daka Shal Meis l'Halech Im Shechina. And there are those who ask, you're talking about the Aron Kodesh with the Luchos and the Aron of Yosef. Why is the Aron of Yosef mentioned first? Why don't we say Echad Shal Shechina, Echad Shal Meis? The Torah is what people encounter first, they notice first, and they ask first, what's this mace doing here? So we're answering according to the people, but about normally, of course, you would mention the Aron Kodesh first. So the Chimad Echad Shal Meis l'Halech Im Shechina, Amru, they said, Kayim Zeh Kol Ma Shekosov B'Zeh. You find, I think in Mein Katan, the Gemara lists many tzaddikim who buy their levayas, they put a Sefer Torah on their mita, they said the same thing, Kayim Zeh, Kol Ma, Shekosov B'Zeh. I don't know. The Eloi, Osik, Bei Moshe, break the Gemara. If Moshe wouldn't have been busy with Yosef Atzadik's bones, it's funny because if I'm not mistaken, the bones of all the Shvatim were removed from Mitzrayim. Brought their own. But so it wasn't with the Aron, only Yosef with the Aron. So V'ila Osik Bei Moshe Yisrael have a maskabei. V'aksiv es atzmas Yosef asher helu b'nei Yisrael mi Mitzrayim cover b'Shechem. V'su ilo yasku Bei Yisrael bonav lo have a maskabei. Even if Klal Yisrael wouldn't have been Isaac with Yosef's bones, surely Yosef's children would have. V'aksiv v'ayil of b'nei Yosef l'nachala. Amru, they said, sure, as the family, we would rather deal with Yosef's bones. But you know what? It's a much greater covet that our father should be there with the Aron, with the public. Why give him a funeral in the state legislature if we can give him a funeral in Capitol Hill? The Su Amru, Hinichu loy kvoide b'gdolim Yosef mivitan. Gavaltik. Talk more about it. Kavru b'Shechem. Yosef is buried in Shechem. It's very dangerous to go there. My son, there's a trip there once a month. They have a convoy of vehicles. My son went there and was kind enough to call me while he was there. He said, "Yeah, it looks like there was a big shootout before we came because they closed down. The army closes down the entire route from the safe area up until the caver, which is a compound. They close it down in the afternoon before, and there's usually firefights and rock throwing and vandalism going on. There's like a little mini war every month just to clear the path through Shechem to where Yosef is buried. And then, like by Kever Rachel, you're in a complex. There, till you get into the complex, you have to cross one street. So when you're crossing that one street, there's soldiers there telling you, run, run, run. This is the only place where you're exposed to sniper fire as you're going. And people have been shot just going from the armored bus in. So I told my son, thank you so much for sharing all that with me. I needed to know that. But they go down there. They go there once a month. They're constantly vandalizing Yosef's caver. So Kibbur b'Shechem, Ma'ishna b'Shechem. What happens in Shechem of all the different places you could bury him? Amr Abchama bar Chanina, Mishchem ganvuhu. You know where Yosef was sold when he was sold to the Arabs? he was sold in Shechem. Ulishchem nachzer avidasai. And that's why he was returned to Shechem. Yeah, that's right. We have a steering psukim. It says, "Vayikach Moshe es atzmos Yosef iman, uchsiv ves atzmos Yosef asher helu b'nei Yisrael." So, was it Klal Yisrael who buried Yosef, or was it Moshe? Omar B'Chama B'Chanina, we learn from here an important message. If you do something, but you didn't finish, Moshe Rabbeinu started to be Isaac with Yosef's bones, but he didn't get into Eretz Yisrael, so he wasn't able to finish the job and actually bury Yosef in Shechem. And someone came and finished it. The person who finished the job gets all the credit. If it was not because of an oinus, if it's because you neglected, you lost your motivation in the middle to finish and you left it over from somebody else, Moshe Rabbeinu surely didn't leave over anything for anybody else. He made the cities of Ari Miklat, even though it wasn't a gay until the Ari Miklat were established in Eretz Yisrael. He did everything he could possibly do, including dealing with Yosef. So Avada, he didn't do anything wrong. But in cases where a person abandoned the mitzvah middle and let somebody else finish, that's where they're moirized to Megillah or the Chsiv. Yehuda was originally working to protect Yosef from being sold, and then he let them sell him. So Yehuda started the job and didn't finish it. Yehuda fell. He fell in Madrega. He loses his wife, Uvanav, and his children. And so Yehuda suffered because he didn't finish the job of protecting Yosef. So you shouldn't think that don't start a job if you can't finish, because we have another rule. But Avada, you have to start, and if you can't finish it tonight, so there's no fee on you. But you need to finish if you can. Where do you find that Yosef was called bones in his lifetime? So Rashi tells us, Yosef told his brothers, you should take my bones out of here. He was still alive. The his brothers referred to the father, to Yaakov Avinu, many times in front of Yosef, Abdecha Avinu. He didn't answer. So talking about bones, you know, when we daven for somebody who's sick, we daven for him with his mother's name. But when we daven for somebody who died, we use his father's name. What's up, shot? Not like that? Really? So one of the first they say is we know that a person gets his bones, his atzamos from his father, because there's shloisha shutzim b'adam, and he gets his basar, the soft tissue, he gets from his mother. So when somebody's sick and he wants life, what part of his body makes the life? The meat, the sinews, the veins, the arteries. So you daven basar the mother. And once he's dead already, so then it's his bones only. So his bones only, that goes to the father. That's why you daven for him, ben his father. And Atzomos basically references a dead body, because there's no more parts of life. There are others who learn that you daven for the mother's name because you know for sure this is his mother, or because the mother elicits more achvanas. I thought you said dry bones. Oh, very nice. He was related to both sides. How is he related through Avram? To Avram? Busur was related to Avram? Right?
And Lucha was
So they're geknippt and gewinnen. But warum ist der Rebbe schwierig? Sagt mal weiter. Yeah. The Yosef, Hurad Mitzrayim. Yosef was taken to Mitzrayim. Omar Belazar, I'll trick you, Hurad. Ela Hayrid. What does it mean, Hayrid? He brought down, Yosef brought down Mitzrayim. How did he bring down Mitzrayim? Shahirid it's Stagnine Pari Migdulasa. Pari had a staff of expert stargazers, and in one fell swoop, Yosef knocked them all over, and he said the right dream. He literally took them all down. He took down the entire establishment. Then it says, "Vayikneu Potifar Sris Pari." Amarav, you know what it means? Shekane la'atzmai. You know why Potifar bought Yosef? Because he wanted a mishkav zacharim. He wanted to abuse Yosef. So how is he protected? Bagavril upiroi. There's sirsoi, which means he made him a sris. Piroi means he totally mutilated him. He did what everyone wants to do today. He made him into a transgender. Gabriel cut it off. So he'll have a hard time abusing Yosef if there's nothing there. So what I don't understand about this is if Potifar became incapable, doesn't Rashi tell us that when she was trying to convince her husband that Yosef was abusing her, she told Potifar, Rashi says, "Be'ez der zika kadvar ma'elu asali." Right? Doesn't it say that, Chaim? So vice the Chais. That's what she told Yosef. But what she told Potifar, you think she would have put up with that? Unless he got himself a prothesis. Could be he got a prothesis. Could be he got a device that's named after Shimshon's wife. You know the device that's named after Shimshon's wife? You know what her name was? You don't know what her name was? The Dildalo. Zog to Gemara weiter. Could be. I hear. Zog to Gemara mi lanu gadol mi Moshe. Who is greater than Moshe? Vayoyim Hashem Elai Ravloch. Moshe Rabbeinu. Oh, we need a medrash rabbi over here. So we'll see what time it is. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to go into Eretz Yisrael, and Hashem said, Ravloch Genug. Amalei Rab Levi Berav Biser. When he was pushing Korach down, he used the word Rav. Therefore, when Hashem was Kavayachol pushing Moshe down, refusing to let him into Eretz Yisrael, Berav Bisruhu. Berav Biser Ravloch and Bnei Levi. Berav Bisruhu Ravloch. He alluded that Tzviah on the way Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Korach. Korach had a tshuka for Gedula, for Ruchnius. He wanted to be a Kohen Gadol. So when someone has a misplaced tshuka, don't push him down. You don't need this. No, Moshe should have explained to him, Avada, this tshuka for Ruchnius is good, but maybe you should channel it here, where it'll be tell us. So the Mechacham learned from this Gemara, never ever push a child's enthusiasm down. Never help him challenge it. But to shut a child down, that's the best way to kill him. Rav Loch, he said to Rav Yeshlach, don't worry, we don't need you anymore. We have someone to replace you. Umani Yeshua. Rav Loch, you know why you should calm down? Because how does it look that you're mentioning the Rebbeinu Shloim and the Rebbeinu Shloim refuses to give in? It almost makes the Rebbeinu Shloim look not correct. Shaloyemu Harav Kama Kosha, look how tough the boss is. The Talmud Kama Sarvin, and the Talmud is an action. The Kol Kachlama, why did Moshe right by his death? He's a holy man. Now we're beating him up with Ravloch. When you have a very strong donkey, you load it up. Moshe Rabbeinu was a very strong tzaddik. Therefore, they were medactic with him. Moshe told him, Ben Meyav Eshem Shodan Chayim, I'm 120 years today. He could have said, Ben Meyav Eshem Shodan. What's Hayom? Because today is my birthday. Hayomalu Yomayu Shnoisai L'lamdecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mashlum Shnoisteim Shal Tzadikim Yoyim L'yoyim U'Mechodesh L'chodesh. Hashem lets the tzaddikim finish their years. Es mispar yomecha amale. I will fulfill them. Lo yucha oid lotus v'lovay. What Moshe Rabbeinu was an alta yidu hashtaken? He was strong and fresh. My lotus v'lovay. Ilema lotus v'lovay mamish. V'aksiv Moshe ben mei of esm shodim ben Moshe. Lo nos lechai. He didn't have wrinkles. He was youthful and strong. V'aksiv ayal Moshe me arvis moivel hainavoy. That's serious walking. Utanya shtei mesri milos hoyisham. There were 12 steps. Upasan Moshe b'psiachas. He jumped them up in one jump. Moshe was strong and fresh. So lotus v'lovay doesn't mean his physical abilities. I'm not sure. Okay. Rab Shmuel ben Nachmani ben Yonasan. Lotus v'lovay b'divrei Torah malamach nistatmu mimenu shari chachma. He lost the shari chachma. Why? It wasn't clear. And it's brought down. The reason why is because it's very hard for him to feel comfortable that it's going to be taken over and feared properly. But once he saw that his chachma wasn't so sharp, and Yeshua was already sharper than he was, so then it's easier for you to let go. I know with my children, first I built a sukkah, and then maybe I let them pass me a tool. And now eventually, they don't even want me to help them anymore. Why? Because once you see that their ability gets stronger and stronger, and it's even better than yours, so then you're very confident. Yeah, take care of it, you'll be just fine. Vayelech Moshe v'Yeshua v'Yisyatzu b'Oyel Moed. Tana, Ois Shabbos shall the Yoizugi Haitza. There were two rulers that day, that Shabbos. There was Moshe at the beginning of the day, and then Yeshua at the end of the day. Nitler Shus Mezev and Nitler Zeh. And the Meforshim talk about Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the end of the Torah. He wrote the Torah the day he died. It was Shabbos, right? Ois Shabbos. So the Yoizugi Haitza. There's a big shaila and a lot of raid how he wrote it. I'm sorry? Right, we're thinking there's a shaila how he did it. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. Imala Mikra Kosev. Huh? Yeah. Imala, but Litzaks always have competition. Imala Mikra Kosev, if there wasn't a pastor saying what's going on, you wouldn't be able to say this. And this is always reference to when we're talking about something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did. Heichan Moshe Meis, where did Moshe actually die? The Chelkai Shel Reuven. That was in the Chelak of Reuven. The Chsiv Hayal Moshe Me'arvis Moevel Har Nevoy. Where is Nevoy? Unevoy b'Chelkai Shel Reuven Kaimid. The Chsiv Uvenei Reuven Benoi Ves Nevoy. So Nevoy was the children of Reuven. Okay. So Nevoy was part of the Chelak of Reuven. The Heichan Moshe cover. Where is Moshe's permanent resting place? The Chelkai Shel God. That's in God, which it's also Eber Yard, but it's in the Chelak of God. The Chsiv. Vayar Reishich Loi, Hisham, Chelkas Mechaykek Sofon, and the Mechaykek Sofon is Moshe Rabbeinu. Mechelka Shel Reuven and Chelka Shel God, it's quite a trip, it's a full day journey. Arba Milan. Oisun Arba Milan Mialichai. Who moved Moshe? We don't know. We don't see anywhere that Moshe was transported. His goof was transported. Malamed Shey Moshe Mutal Bekanfei Shchina Malachi Asharis Oimim Tzidkas Hashem Asa Umishpata Ben Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shloim b'chvoidu v'atzmai. That's why in Mola Akatzav Vaymer you wouldn't be able to say it. The Rebbeinu Shloim b'chvoidu v'atzmai. He carried Moshe's guf from Chelak Reuven to Chelak God. That's what we learned in the Mishnah. At the end of the Mishnah it says Al Tadikim Hashem is metapel with them. But Moshe is distinct that Al Tadikim Hashem might be metapel with their neshamas. But Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbeinu Shloim is metapel with his guf. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Omer Mi Yokim. I don't know what those words mean. Right. 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 There's al kavayuch, and that's why el mole mikra kotzav yevshel oimri in kedach v'pashtani zachen. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer, Mi Yokem Li Imereim, who's going to stand with me, with my friends, me, it's lots of Li, Payali Oben, who's going to stand with me to protect Klal Yisrael from their virus. The Rebbe Shloim misses Moshe Rabbeinu. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel said, Mika Chacham, who's the Chacham like Moshe, Umi Yodei Pshar Dover. Shmuel didn't say this when Moshe died. Shmuel was saying what the Rebbe Shloim Kaviyachol said. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, he was able to work things out with people. Okay. Hashem and Klal Yisrael. That's right. Rashi says. Okay. Where are we going to find the Chachma? Rab Nachman Amar Vayom Sham Moshe, and it says Eved Hashem. He was referred to as Eved Hashem. That's the ultimate compliment. Samli Amar Toishka says it might be a Chacham, it might be a Mala. Vayom Sham Moshe Safra Rabba di Yisrael, the great Toishik, the great Sefer of Klal Yisrael. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer God Leimer Shnei Maser Mil Shnei Maser Mil Keneged Machan Yisrael, in this area of 12 mil by 12 mil, which was the Machan Yisrael at that time. There was an announcement. There was a loudspeaker system. Baskoil Mashmiya Boimer Vayomas Moshe Safer Rabbi Yisrael. There are those who say Loi Meis Moshe. Moshe didn't die at all. Ksiv Hacha Vayomas Sham Uksiv Hasam Vayisham Im Hashem, which is when he was up by Har Sinai. Mala Alon Oimid Meshamish. Moshe Rabbeinu was there being Meshamish. Rebbeinu Shalom learning Torah, but he wasn't dead. Afkan Oimid Meshamish. Vayikbar Aish Bagai.
Yossi, I know I'm 5 minutes late, but I'm just wondering how you got through the entire daf in 5 minutes.
We started learning at 6:15.
6:15. Ah, that explains how you got through the whole daf in 5 minutes. I got.
No, we started at 6:15.
Oh, I thought you were learning at 7
No,
o'clock.
I put out a WhatsApp that for Monday and Tuesday we're going to learn at 6:15 and at 9:30. And
All
Sunday.
right.
I apologize.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
I put out a WhatsApp. Okay, no problem.
Okay,
I want to tell you something. Every time I check in, I say, "Am I on time or am I on time?" If you're there or not there yet.
I've never been an hour late.
I always expect to look for you. I was a little bit worried, so thank you. The guy, he was buried. The guy, Mulbeis Bar, Amar Brachya, Simon B'Seich Simon. He was given literally the GPS coordinates of Moshe Rabbeinu's cave were given. Sai Bagai, Sai Beretz Moav, Sai Mulbeis Bar. I mean, that's a really, really good direction. Vafilu hachi v'lo yada ishes k'vurasai. At kedekach ukvar sholcha malchus harsha. The Romans sent Gisdera shel Beis Ba'ar, the boss of the Beis Ba'ar. Har'enu heichon Moshe cover. We need to know where Moshe is buried. Why? The Mefarshim tell us. Because when the Yidden were thrown into Golus by the Romans knew where they're going to go, David, by Moshe Rabbeinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would never turn Moshe Rabbeinu down. That's why Hashem didn't want us to know where Moshe was buried. Because if he would daven by Moshe's kever, the Rebbeinu Shalom would look. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to overturn the condemnation by the Egel Azov. So Hashem knew whatever they want, they're going to get if they go to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Romans understood that, and the Romans were afraid that was going to happen. So they wanted to find out where it was to make sure that they'll never let the Yidden get close to it. So they wanted to know Ha'enu Heichon Moshe cover. Amdu Lamala. So they will show you. They went up to a high mountain. They wanted to point to where it was. They said Nidmal Lamata. Oh, it's down over there. But when they were standing down there, so then they went down there to actually get close to the cave. Lamata. Oh, it's up there. Nechlekul l'shnei kitos. So they made two groups. Oishin showing them Lamaila. Nidmalem Lamata. Lamatma. Lidmalem Lamaila. So even though they thought they knew exactly where it was, it evaded them. They couldn't find it. Kayim Hashanemar L'Yada Ishes Kurasai. Rab Chama Bachanina Amar Af Moshe Rabbeinu En Yodei Hechen Cover. He himself didn't know where he was buried. Ksifacha L'Yada Ishes Kurasai Uksifasam L'Zois Habracha Sheberach Moshe Isha Elokim. So he didn't know where he was buried either. We'll get to the explanation of this tomorrow. What's pshat that Moshe Rabbeinu himself didn't know where he was buried. There's a very beautiful medrash